Good morning and a warm welcome. Sage here for 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐴 TV, reporting to you live from Sydney, and you are watching the Global Markets Roundup. Let's dive into some of the key highlights and happenings from yesterday, starting with the US market. And the global shares inched up on Wednesday on the strength of the US equities markets that were boosted by positive factory data. The MSCI All Country World Index rose 0.21%, while the S&P 500 rose from more than a 3-week low, and the Dow Jones Index recovered from a near 2-month trough hit on Tuesday. All benchmark US indices closed in the green on Wednesday after a flurry of deals, acquisitions, buybacks and product launches of the top companies lifted the investors' spirits. The S&P 500 was up 0.85% and the Dow Jones rose 0.68%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.82% and the small cap Russell 2000 was up 1.11%. After a recent dip in trading, stocks rebounded, registering broad gains across segments. Investors' sentiments were lifted by a positive economic outlook amid a flurry of market activities, from IPOs and deals to acquisitions. In addition, a spike in oil prices fueled gains in the energy sector. And Goldman Sachs said it will acquire specialty lender 𝐊𝐴𝐴 for $2.2 billion. 𝐊𝐴𝐴 has clients like Home Depot, among thousands of others, and Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon said the company plans to build the new banking platform of the future. However, the GS stock fell 0.19%, while shares of GSKY jumped 53.54%. New York and Tel Aviv-based Pagaya Technologies said it clinched a $9 billion deal with SPAC EJF Acquisition, a special purpose acquisition company for US stock listing. And Pagaya is an AI-driven financial technology startup, and several big banks and financial firms use its payments platform. And meanwhile, Fed's factory data showed industrial production had surged 0.4% in August after increasing 0.8% in July. The decline was mainly due to Hurricane Ida-linked disruptions last month. And the energy, technology and industrial segments were the top gainers on the S&P 500 on Wednesday, and 10 of the 11 index segments stayed in the positive territory, while utility stocks were the bottom movers. Let's move on now to the futures and commodities market. Gold futures were down 0.67%, while silver decreased by 0.14%, and copper rose 1.89% to US $4.4028. Brent oil futures increased by 2.46%, and WTI crude was up 3.02%. Looking at the bond market now. 30-year Treasury bond yields were up 0.68%, while the 10-year bond yields rose 2.08%. And the US dollar futures index decreased by 0.16%. And now we've reached the time for a small break, but stay tuned. I'll be back with the Asian and Australian market updates. Property by 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐴. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝐼 TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝐼. Welcome back. Sage here, and you're watching the Global Markets Roundup show by 𝐾𝐿𝐴𝐼 TV. And European shares slipped on Wednesday as utilities fell on Spain's move to cap the energy bills, while luxury stocks continued to weaken amid concerns of a slowing Chinese economy. The benchmark stock 600 index was down 0.8% and off by about 2.5% from the record highs in mid-August. The London markets traded in a red zone after the release of the record UK inflation numbers. And according to the IHS market CIPS, the consumer price index rose around 3.2% during August of 2021 on an annual basis. And moreover, on a monthly basis, it grew by approximately 0.7%. Fever Tea Drinks shares surged by about 9.54% after the company had reported a robust increase in the first half revenue and subsequently declared an interim dividend. And moreover, the company had reiterated the revenue guidance provided during July of 2021. Deliveroo shares went down by around 0.81% after the company signed a deal with Amazon, where Prime customers can get free delivery on the company's platform. Redrow had shown tremendous growth in the top-line revenue and bottom-line profitability during financial year 21. However, the shares dropped by around 0.61%. Japanese shares on Wednesday retreated from three-decade peaks hit in the previous session, and as investors took profits after a strong rally over the last 2 weeks and Chinese regulatory concerns dragged SoftBank Group, 9984.T and property shares. The Nikkei average dropped 0.52% to 30,511.71. On Tuesday, it rose above its February peak to reach 30,795.78, the highest levels since August 1990. The broader topics shed 1.06%. And China's stocks closed lower on Wednesday as weak factory and retail activity data weighed on sentiments, while the fresh COVID-19 outbreaks also rose to concerns about China's economic recovery. The blue chip CSI 300 index fell 1% to 4,867.32, while the Shanghai Composite Index lost 0.2%. And South Korean shares closed higher on Wednesday as the foreign buying overshadowed concerns around the global economic growth, with investors refraining from making big bets ahead of a holiday next week. The benchmark KOSPI closed up or 0.15% at extending gains to a fourth straight session. On Wednesday, the benchmark ASX 200 index fell 0.3%, and Seven Group Holdings casino operator Sky City Entertainment and New Zealand telco Spark New Zealand are a few shares going ex-dividend on Thursday. Crude oil prices rose after the US data revealed a greater than expected drawdown of supplies. And WTI crude ended up 3.1% at $72.61 a barrel, and Brent ended 2.5% higher at $75.46 a barrel. The gold prices fell amid US Fed's tapering uncertainty, and spot gold fell 0.8%, while US gold futures fell 0.68%. And thanks for joining us on that report, but that is all for now. Keep watching 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴 TV for more market updates. Sage signing off.